Audio's off. Hey everyone, okay, great. Audio's on now. Welcome to our Gecko stream. You think after 6 weeks of doing this that I would know to turn the audio on when I go from one screen to another?
Episodes in.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Frank, for calling that out, because otherwise we would have gone 20 minutes with nothing.
And we have.
Super excited to be here tonight. Again, Carolyn and David here as your usual hosts. Tonight, though, we have a wonderful guest, Wally from Supreme Gecko. It's a very fun stream tonight to really kind of chat through some fun topics. Over the last couple of weeks, Carolyn and I have covered like basics and care, but we have two people on the stream today who are experts in what I like to call reptile keeping at scale. I know when I walk into my room where my geckos are, I feel like, oh my God, there's so many. But I got nothing on our wonderful co-hosts tonight. So with that in mind, we're going to kind of walk through how they got to where they are and how they are the people that they are. So it's not Wally, it's a cardboard cutout. It's definitely Wally. We've got him on live tonight. Super excited. So if we could, Wally, let's start with you as our guest tonight. How did you get into reptiles and reptile keeping and all of the cool species that you have?
Oh my gosh. I tell you what, guys, I am really super excited. I was going to wear my Supreme Gecko shirt, and then I was thinking, well, maybe I should wear one of the Supreme Gecko YouTube channel's special sponsors.
Okay.
And then I just said, you know what? It's fun night. Friday is fun, right?
Yes.
So here we go. Okay, how did I get into this weird, crazy hobby? I'll go back to, everybody goes back to a kid. When I was a kid, I used to collect, and sure enough, when I was a kid, I used to collect tadpoles down by the stream, bring them home, watch them grow up. That escalated into, I was a big-time fisherman. When I was a teenager, I tell you what, I've told this story maybe once, maybe twice before, but I got into a lot of trouble when I was a young teenager, and my parents moved me somewhere else to isolate me from all that trouble that I was into, and I took up fishing. And I think really fishing kind of directed me and gave me a purpose in life. Just love to be out on the lake, little 12-footer, little 3-horse, puttering my way to the middle of the lake and dropping a line and just absolutely enjoying being in nature and listening and watching. And I think that one change in our lives, our family's lives, really impacted me a great deal. Later, I moved out of my parents' house, set up a little aquarium, a little 10-gallon, watched bass and bluegills fight each other, set up other aquariums. So this was my wife and myself in a little one-bedroom apartment. We went from one tank and then we went to 2 tanks, and then I started keeping tropical fish. And I promise this won't be an hour-long explanation.
It can be as long as it needs to be, Wally. We love it.
So these 2 tanks amazingly bred faster than my fish. From 2 tanks to 4 tanks to 8 tanks to, I think we wound up with about 30 aquariums in this one-bedroom apartment. And then I realized we need to make some changes to this family, Nanette and I, and we started looking for homes. And I gave Nanette, okay, you get the upstairs, you get the kitchen, you get the bathroom, you get the living room, you get the family room. I get the basement. That decision is right here. So we started looking for homes. We found a couple of homes, and we just fell in love with one. And I converted half the basement into basically my pet store. I had about 125 tanks, from 5 gallons up to 125 gallons, breeding killifish and, gosh, name it, rare Lake Tanganyika African fish to discus. I was shipping out all over the world. Our typical week was feed, and then get to Saturday, and then that was my water change. But it would take me a whole day because we would have people from Chicago and Minnesota stopping by, bagging up fish and just, shooting the breeze
There you go.
and
Yep.
drinking some cold sodas all day Saturday. So that was my Saturday. And then Sunday was rust day. So got really involved with the fish, and then I had to make the decision. We started having, our family, and with 3 young boys, and a very active career into computers, project management, and then into the fish. I had to choose 2. I couldn't do all 3. It was just way too much. So I thought about the family. I could keep my job and that's not going to work. No, that's not going to let me do that. She'll hunt me down. So it was the job because I loved my work, and it was the job and the family. The fish went away. I literally sold everything one weekend, all the fish,
Wow.
all the equipment, all the supplies, all in one weekend because I was ready to move on. Stayed out of everything, tried orchids, tried other kind of hobbies, and it just didn't suffice. Went out of this 22, 23, 24 years ago, bought a pair of leopard geckos and just fell in love with that first egg, hatching of an egg. And then I saw crested gecko and decided, oh my gosh, this isn't any more difficult than keeping leopard geckos. Let me try a crested gecko. Well, funny thing is that 1 became 2 pair, became 4 pair, became, within that first couple of years, I had probably 20 or 30 pairs. And it just exploded from there. I found that I loved crested geckos and gargoyles and kahuas, but I really had a fascination with rare geckos. So, the spark, the fire in my soul is I love animals. I love geckos. I really love the weird stuff. The things that everybody else goes, why in the world are you keeping that? It's like, yeah, that's why I'm keeping it because, nobody's keeping this thing. So that's how it kind of progressed over the years. Fish to orchids. I still have a few orchids downstairs, and then into reptiles, and that's been about 23, 24 years now.
Wow. So when did you get your first crested gecko?
It was like the first year. So about 24 years ago, we purchased our very first crested gecko. It bred, that year. So, it was like game on right away, immediately. I love the animals. I love the care. I love talking to other people that enjoy the same passions that I have. Nothing excites me, and I've said this over and over and over. And if you watch me on the Supreme Gecko channel, you know what I'm going to say next. The day that I go downstairs and I open the incubator and I find a baby, and in my mind I think, where am I going to put that? That's another mouth to feed. The minute I see that next animal, I've hatched thousands and thousands of animals. The first time I go, oh, why am I doing? I'm done. I'm walking away from the hobby. Every single animal, every single baby that we're hatching out downstairs is a thrill, and I feel blessed to be involved with something so miraculous. So I get that fire with the animals, but I really, it ignites with the babies.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm excited to have babies at some point. I need to kind of slow down a little bit, but I'm excited to see what we can make. I'm very pumped about it. So wait, I have a question for you. So if you got your crested geckos like 20 some odd years ago, how did you get them? Were they wild caught from New Caledonia? Like, did they ship? I don't know. Like, my understanding is that the crested geckos kind of got big about like right before the pandemic. So hearing that you've been in it for longer is exciting.
Actually, crested geckos have been around for a long time. We hear that they haven't been around that long, but I've been around for a long time. So crested geckos have been around for a long time. When I got into the hobby about 22, 23 years ago, I should know that by now. Crested geckos were around for, oh my gosh, 8, 10 years, 12 years at that time. So they were around. There weren't Facebook groups. There wasn't instant messenger. Everything was dictated by forums, and the Repashy forum was the go-to place. Everybody was on Repashy forum talking about geckos, talking about rare geckos, talking about leopard geckos, talking about kahuas, talking about crested geckos. 9.998 of every post was about a crested gecko. And again, that's 20, 22, 23 years ago. And I obviously wasn't the first member of the Repashy forums. So, I found crested geckos. There were a number of different people, Geconidaes, Andrew and Sarah Gilpin, they were mainstays of the Repashy forum. I was the newbie on the block. So, it's been around for a while. Now, like you're saying, David, in the last, 4 or 5 years, the crested gecko hobby has just exploded.
Yeah.
We've seen the progression, and we've seen the peaks and valleys, and especially in the market, the business market, we've seen it, rise and fall. But in the last few years, because of introductions of new morphs, new traits, we've seen it just go through the roof. We're seeing it come back down to earth a little bit now, but we really saw some dramatic changes probably the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 years or so. Yeah.
Sure. And from my vantage point, like I'm very new. Yes, yeah, Carolyn.
For some reason, there's a countdown on the Zoom meeting at the top. It says remaining times 8 minutes.
Don't worry about the man behind the curtain. I got it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Is that a message to me that I'm talking to?
No, it's a message to me that I have a new credit card that I didn't put on my Zoom account that I'm doing right now. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Here we go. So, don't worry, Caroline. I got you. It's saying the same thing to me. But no, like I'm very new to this. Like I got my first crested gecko in October of last year, and I swear every time I'm with you guys or with Carolyn or in the group or whatever, I learn something new. But it's so interesting because, like, from my vantage point as kind of a new person here, it seems like everybody and their brother is breeding crested geckos, and everybody and their brother like shouldn't be, if that makes sense. I have a very sharp tongue, and I will tell somebody exactly what I think. So, how do you
bring it on, David? Bring it on.
Not for you, Wally.
Seriously.
Not for either of you, but there have been, that's why I like being the admin in our little discussion forum.
I'm like the median.
Yeah.
And I am so far away from all that. I do anything that I can to avoid the whole drama. I am so bad.
I love the drama.
I don't do that, and I should do more. I realize that.
No, you're great.
Hats off, David. Good job.
But no, in all seriousness, like as somebody who's been breeding crested geckos for a minute, what's your perspective on the amount of people doing it? Because, Carolyn and I are very aligned on this. Like, you should be breeding to forward the species, breed something cool, breed something special, breed something awesome. Don't just do it to do it. Like, what's your vantage point on the current state of ethical breeding of crested geckos in the United States? Asking the easy questions
tonight. I just mentioned that I don't like all the drama and all the crap that goes on, so sorry about swearing. I don't like all the drama, and David goes, so tell us about the drama. So, yeah, I think that's funny. It's hard. So I'll say it like this. It is what it is. It's the market, the business of keeping crested geckos has driven the keeping of crested geckos. Now, that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We're not going to stop that. We're not going to even slow it down. Money is just going to drive things. If you ever look for anything, go back to, Watergate. What's going on? Follow the money. Follow the money. There's where you're going to find your answer. So, unfortunately, when I got into this, it was the cool little babies and the patterns. And let me see if I can get a full pin. Oh, I got a full pinstripe. And now it's, and I'm not blaming anybody, It is what it is. The money part of the hobby has driven the supply and the demand, unfortunately, and kind of fortunately too, because it exposes more people to something that maybe they wouldn't have been exposed to. It highlights something in the general reptile keeping arena that probably wouldn't have been noticed if we were just status quo. It would have never changed. We would have had exactly the same number of people, some in, some out, but that number would have been stagnant. and all of a sudden everybody's keeping them. And again, I know what you're saying. It's bad in ways that people are keeping them because they're driven by the money. And I did a video on this. Here's the big market problem, and here's what's going to happen in 2024. And I was pretty as dramatic for me as I possibly could have been, saying, we're going to see the fallout. We're going to see the crash. It's coming, and we're seeing it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming, and it is here. And adjust. Does that mean that you should sell everything out? Oh my God, the market's... No, please don't. Adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy into things that you're going to buy for $5,000, and then tomorrow it's going to be worth $1,000.
Totally.
You have to watch it. You have to do things a little bit smarter right now.
That's such a perfect way to say it. You have to do things smarter right now. Unlike our friend
Yes.
Arrow, who is very pregnant and jumping around over there. But no, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I know for me, I have 2 pairs that I'm really excited about. I have a really nice tricolor male that has Pangea lineage that I got on Craigslist, who's beautiful. He's giant. His crests are like falling off. He's not falling off. They're very like droopy. They're huge. His name is Big Guy because he is a very big guy. And then I have this beautiful female that I got, who's also a tricolor. She's not quite ready to breed. She's 32 grams, so we're just feeding her lots of watermelon and crickets. No, that's great. No, I love that. And then, Wally, for you, like, at what point did you kind of say, okay, I'm going to take this to a scale? Because, there's folks who I think are happy with, like, a pair or a couple, but you went to another place with it. What was that decision process like?
I don't know. I don't feel like I have yet. So a little bit of background. I'm totally serious. I don't.
Yeah. No, I love it.
So I was on a show. I was on an interview with somebody else, and at the end of the show, they made a comment. I can't believe we had Wally from somebody. And I'm just like every. Let's just talk. Let's be hobbyists. We're all the same. Now, if I'm keeping 1 pair of crested geckos, or 20, or 30, or 100, we're all the same. We're all learning. You mentioned that you're just starting to learn this. I'm learning flipping every single day. And when you stop learning, that's the point where you have to take a step back and start looking at what you're doing. But I feel absolutely that I'm not different than any other person. I just have a bigger obsession than a lot of other people.
That's great.
When did it get overwhelming? It really never did get overwhelming, other than, I will say that about 7 years ago, I got a huge project at work, multi-million-dollar project, and it took 2 years, and it was 70, 80 hours a week and weekends. And Nanette, my wife, was, God help us, that if she wouldn't have, but she helped out with the animals, and she kept things, right on par.
That's awesome.
For 2 years, I was absent from the hobby. So that's when it was overwhelming. But, I kind of anticipated some of that happening with my career, but not to 2 years worth. Had never experienced something like that. So after the 2 years, I realized that it was burning me out a little bit. I'm kind of on the twilight of my career. I got to make a decision here, and it was an easy decision to step away and do reptiles fully, about 5 years ago.
Great.
And I've never looked back. You talk about, scaling up in the business end of things. It's always been scaling up. I've always been looking, but I've also felt fortunate that I've had the ability to, now I'm not saying that I don't impulse buy, but I've always had we all do, let's admit it, we all do the impulse buy. You just have to be kind of smart about that and know what you can step into and what you can't. If you're keeping crested geckos and you go, oh, I like a kahua, and you see it for the first time, you don't know that much about it, you know about crested, so you're going to be okay. But anyways, I've always kind of added and added and added as my interests change. But I've always been able to manage my expansions with the knowledge of how much resources I have. Resources isn't money. Resources is not money.
Facts.
Resources is time. If you don't have the time, so a good friend of mine, Joe Hupp, pointed this out, and he kind of made it in very, very simple terms. that I couldn't explain myself, but he said exactly the same thing. It's not money or being able to expand and find more room. It's how much time you have to work with things. And he put it very bluntly that if he's bringing in another animal, then he has to realize that his collection isn't going to be cared for as well, because he has one more animal, and everything else is going to slide down, or something is going to slide down. So I've always lived, since hearing that, I've lived that philosophy in my life too, that if I'm bringing something in, how is that going to impact everything? But so far, I've had the opportunity to adjust and move forward, as we have in the last few years.
That's phenomenal. And I love that when I ask the question, how did you get to scale? You're like, I'm not. And that's perfect. Like, I found a lot of inspiration. So I've been looking for, Carolyn's been kind of front row seat to this. I've been trying to figure out the best way to house everybody, because they grow up so fast.
They do.
They like I looked at my my one guy that I got at NARBC in March. He was like 22 grams, and I'm like, you're looking big, dude. So I pulled him out and I weighed him. He's like 37 grams somehow. I'm like, oh,
wow.
Coakley, you are massive. So yeah, Dubia is like getting a small portion from me this week for new enclosures.
Same.
Yeah, oh, gosh.
I'm getting Dubia.
Well, and Carolyn, I'm so jealous of you. Not jealous. I'm happy for you. All right, let's keep it real. I'm jealous as fuck. But in all seriousness, Carolyn picked up some amazing things from the
This
Altitude
month.
Exotics sale. From other breeders,
say,
like
like a dozen geckos.
Yeah,
this
tell us
whole month.
about your new stuff. What did you get?
Yeah, it's been a lot. So, all right. So we got 6 last weekend, and then
Nice.
how many other we got? We got Racing Stripes. We got Skid Mark.
Just kidding.
Who else? We got the baby. We got a lot. So now we've and the Sable. Okay,
Oh yeah, your
so-
Sable came in. That's exciting.
This month's been crazy. May's been a huge month for us. So we've joined on the whole Exantic, boat. We've been
Godspeed.
getting our toes dipped in the water a little bit with them. So it's really exciting. And then same with Sables. We just purchased a baby Sable. So excited to dip our toes in that pool as well. We picked up 2 empty back pinstripe projects this month too. So and if to anyone that's seen my Facebook posts, we just got a breeding group from LGP Gecko, and then I've also got a male and a female from 2 different breeders for their own separate project. And both projects I'm really, really excited about. One of which is already a breeding pair, so that's even better.
That's awesome.
The second pair is going to be put together soon. We keep the temperature and lighting all the same year round. So we dim a little bit of temperature in wintertime, but otherwise we're excited. So
Nice.
I'm excited.
really
for you.
excited.
Congratulations.
yeah, and the Sable is starting to eat, so that's a really good thing. It was a Korean import, so it's a little difficult with the whole eating schedule there. So they're
Mhm.
starting to eat, they're starting to poop, so that's a really good sign. And yeah, we've I put 4 more tadpoles into the transfer cups, so they're gonna be going into froglets. I do dart frogs, like a lot of them. I just transferred 4 or 5 froglets into their temporary
Nice.
tank. Slow. I now have 4 or 5 froglets, probably 20 tadpoles, 4 tadlets. Tadlets go into froglets, froglets go into frogs. It's everything right now.
I love it.
So yeah, it's always something going on. Skinks
Nice.
are doing good. We got our 2 fire skinks, those from previous month. So yeah, it's been a really busy month for us.
That's amazing.
And then of course
Really
around that,
exciting.
all the different shows and everything coming up. We just did two shows this month.
We just did 2 Scotts.
Yeah.
shows. No,
Janesville.
Janesville and then
Yeah,
Scotts.
yeah. So we did two shows, Janesville and then Scott Smith and King County Fairgrounds in Illinois. And then next month just have one back at Scott's, and then after that we're doing Schaumburg. So that's really
I
really
know.
exciting for any RBC Schaumburg. So that's gonna be our first time ever doing it. Which we've done Tinley in the past. We've never tried doing Schaumburg. So we've heard the years previously have been pretty good. So we're gonna try that as well.
That's exciting, and I'm
Fantastic. Good
excited.
luck.
I'm excited for your
it's
first.
very exciting. It's,
yeah.
a little overwhelming because there's a lot of stuff that we have to do to get ready for it. We're bringing roughly, because we do temporary grow out terrariums. We sell them for $50, and they're, little starter kits for baby geckos. We sell those, and we're bringing 8, 16, 24, 32. 32? Yeah. So it's a lot to get ready.
You'll get there. I mean, July will be
Yeah.
here before
Yeah.
we know it, but it's still far away. I feel so fortunate that,
is.
like, I live in Chicago, and like in the actual city, not like the burbs, like everybody says. Like, we have Tinley and we have Schaumburg, like, in our backyard. And Tinley, man, I had to leave Tinley on Saturday because I was, like, way overwhelmed. There were just so many
Yes.
people. And I was there, I was looking for, like, one thing. And then I went back on Sunday, and it was way more calm. I love Arrow. And also, we got to give a shout out to Dustin. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Hey
Glad
there.
to see
He's
you
here.
here, as always.
Hey, Dustin.
So, Caroline, like, in your operation, like, you've done a lot in a little bit of time. Like, what was the decision-making process of, like, okay, I'm going to go from being, like, a hobbyist to turning this into something that is an entire room and tadpoles and skinks and,
Right.
lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. How did you get there?
Yeah, lions, tigers, and bears. So I've always been in a similar situation like this growing up, so this is nothing new to me. As the story goes, mother, she owned a pet shop and owned exotic animals, big snakes, tarantulas, fish, geckos, and then your normal, your hamsters and,
Nope, bye, girl.
she left chat. And so she used to own a pet store, and unfortunately, pet store had to close. Of course, the stock market crash was a big part of it, and she couldn't recover from it. So that was a big part of it. So I kind of took on the hobby from her. She got me hooked on leopard geckos, similar to Wally with the leopard gecko thing, and then leopard geckos led to crusteds. Crusteds led to more crusteds, and led to dart frogs, led to skinks, led to gargoyles. It exploded. So it's just been one thing after another. So it's not really nothing new with having a lot of things at once and just, crazy lifestyle with everything going willy-nilly. But it's nothing new, and it's fun. I mean, every day is something new, whether it be a new baby, more frog eggs, more gecko eggs, skinks are eating, getting bigger. There's just always something.
That's exciting. I love the
very
skinks. I'll
exciting.
never forget what you said a few weeks ago. You were like, yeah, you can't tell if they're male or female, so you put them together and hope for the best. I'm like, that is...
Yeah, the skinks. Yeah, my skinks. You really don't know. There's not a way to sex them. Fire skinks, you cannot sex them.
That's dangerous. That's very dangerous.
It is incredibly intimidating. So shout out to all the breeders that already know, and you sell them as is, and it's much easier.
Yeah.
So once these guys grow up, awesome. I'm not going to breed them together because I think they came from the same breeder anyways. But I'm going to look into getting a breeder pair in the next house probably.
That's
Just
fair.
make it easier. I'll get one that's already proven. I'll just spend the extra, $300 on a proven pair rather than guessing and checking and failing dramatically.
Oh, yeah. That does not sound very fun.
You'll be fine.
No, yeah. Male and male combo doesn't sound good. Are you nice?
Anyway, I'm going to leave all the obvious jokes from that behind, and we're going to go straight into my next question. So how did you two meet each other? Because you guys know each other, and have for a minute, as far as I understand, right?
Yep. There we go. Oh,
Well,
she's pressing
I'll
buttons.
start it off by
Yeah.
saying we probably met
Stop
many
pressing
times.
buttons.
What happened?
Arrow's just pressing everything on my screen. My screen's a touch screen, so
Oh, no.
of course with the grippy hands, she's just opening every single app. So hang on, give me a second.
That's hilarious.
Oh boy.
I'll say
What
that
did
we
she
met
open?
many times before I met you, meaning that you probably introduced yourself
There we
dozens
go.
of times to me
You can probably
without
just throw
me
away.
remembering
That's
who
right
you were.
there.
So I'm really bad with names.
You're good. Arrow's causing drama.
She was being really good. All right, there you go. All right, just shove her back in.
Cool. Are you good?
Yeah, she's just being special.
So let's go back. So Wally, can you tell us again? Like, you guys had met multiple times, and then...
I was saying we met multiple times probably. You introduced yourself many times to me, but with my memory, I never remembered you. I think it was a picture that you and I took at one show, and
Mhm.
the gears kind of clicked, and it's like, and unfortunately, I do that with a lot of people. I actually started a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I saw your spreadsheet.
Matching
Yeah.
up names with businesses simply because through YouTube and Instagram and TikTok now, all over the place, people have IDs, and I just cannot keep people straight at all. So I started this spreadsheet to hopefully help me a little bit to start that process a little bit quicker.
That's wonderful. So, like, what year did you guys meet?
It was a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half, I believe.
Yeah.
I love it.
That
Yeah,
sounds about right.
right about there. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
followed him
probably
for a long time for YouTube. You know, he provides a lot of good, YouTube
Yeah.
videos for research purposes and everything. So he's a really good teacher for people that want to look into it. Like asking any questions. He's like, did you watch this video? Here's the link. So he's
That's
really
good.
good about it. So he always has a source to fully explain something without having to type out a book. So it's really, really good.
And it's not boring. Like, it's such good video content too. Like, I absolutely love the stuff that I saw, and it's always so weird, like seeing somebody that you've watched for a little bit of time online. It's like, oh, they're a real person. It's really fun.
I gotta tell once David, me and you met in person. It's like, hey,
I know you are.
talking to you a lot.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't even remember how we even met. I remember like I called you in a panic, and that's kind of what started our friendship.
I don't remember either. I think it was just with like friends of friends.
Yeah.
And, that kind of thing.
It's crazy how small of a world the hobby is. Wally, are you in Illinois?
I'm in Wisconsin. I grew up right on the border and started watching the Cubs and the Bears and the
Blackhawks.
Bulls and the Hawks.
I was going to say, you have a very Chicago
it's
accent.
easily confused. So now that I'm in Milwaukee, I don't admit any of it. Well, I can admit that I watch the Hawks, but I can't admit. Don't tell anybody here in Milwaukee that I watch the Bears. Don't say anything, okay?
Don't worry. The only thing I care about at Soldier Field was the Taylor Swift concert I saw last year. So, don't worry. That was a great day. June 8th, I think it was. It's coming up on a year. It was so much fun. And Wally, you completed Frank's bingo card. He says you cannot go a single stream without saying spreadsheet. I love it. Hey, you know what?
Wally's
I
known
already
for
say
the
it. If I haven't, I
spreadsheet.
will again.
Well, you said you have you're from a project management background, and that's actually kind of my next question. Like, how have you taken the skills you learned in the corporate world and applied them to your gecko and reptile obsession?
Oh, outstanding question. So when I talk to a lot of people, fortunately, I have a small consultation gig going on the side, and I'll do 2 or 3 consultations a month, and easily 2 of those will be, how do I do my business with my hobby, my passion? How do I convert that? So I did a video, but I'll do these consultations. And the one thing that I'll say is it's not about the animals. It's not about a lot of things. It's not about your hobby. It's not about any of that. Learn business rules. Learn business rules. Put yourself in your customer's place. What are they looking for? One of my favorite sayings is, don't sell the bacon, sell the sizzle. So we want to, and I'll get back to the business part of it, but we want to share our experience, our passion, our enthusiasm for what we're doing. We want to share, this life experience that we're going through, and let people know that this is fun. This is really fun. It's fun to see a baby. So that's the one end. You've got the hobby, but you also have the business. So let me put on my accountant hat here. So I have all the spreadsheets, and I have everything going on that end. I have a spreadsheet for marketing ideas and for doing shorts on YouTube and long form. So I have extensive, notes and everything. So I'm always thinking about the business part of things. I'm always thinking about the product line. What can we add to our Supreme Gecko store to diversify a little bit more? So it's always in the background. But then, I'm sitting at my desk here in my office, and I'm answering messages, and I'm doing research and everything. And then it's like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And that's after 2 or 3 hours. I get up and I go downstairs and I work on the animals. And I put all that aside and I throw on my reptile keeper hat and I go downstairs and I work on the reptiles. And then I work on those for a couple hours. So I'm always listening to podcasts, and it's not about geckos. It's about business and marketing and improving my YouTube videos. I should probably watch more of those videos. But I'm always thinking downstairs too. So while I'm doing geckos, I'm loving it and I'm checking babies in the incubator and moving and pairing, but I'm always thinking about the business end of things too. I'll go to bed at night. Okay, I'm done with everything. You'll have family time, go to bed. And I pull out the phone, and now I'm watching TikToks on business and things like that for probably another half hour, 45 minutes. I might answer a message or two, but it's like constant. And that's not, I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's all interwoven to the point where, my mind, and I'm sure a lot of other people's minds, are always thinking about the business end of things while they're thinking about the animals. So you could be selling widgets or sewing or crafts or anything, but you have to have that business sense about you. You always have to try to, sharpen the axe with your business skills. Always. I tell people, go to a reptile show and look at all the tables and take away, what I do is I'll take business cards and I'll look at the table and I go, oh, I really like how I'm going to steal that idea.
Yeah.
Steal my ideas. I don't care. Steal ideas from my or better yet, man, Wally Kern at Supreme Gecko really isn't doing a good job with showing off his animal. So I'm gonna take one of his cards. I'm gonna write down, don't do this.
Smart.
Walk around shows and get a feel for what you want to do and what you don't want to do. What works for other people, what doesn't work for other people, and mimic the good things and avoid the bad things. But always
smart.
have that business mind going all the time. That's my number one tip to people.
You're so right. Like, I remember walking around NARBC, and I'll never forget, people don't forget how they feel, If you can win the heart, you've already won the mind. And I will never forget, I went into NARBC, and I knew what I wanted. I wanted a cappuccino male, because I have a Ballin, lily white female, and I want to make some frappuccinos. The feeling that I got when I walked into Flawless Crested Geckos, so cool. Sorry guys, I didn't buy anything from them because they didn't have what I wanted, but just I'll never forget the beautiful little tanks with the not rhinestones, with the little,
well, it's diamonds. It's
yeah.
diamonds.
It's like the little, the plastic diamonds. It was so cool. And then my other favorite was definitely Illinois Valley Geckos. I loved your guys' setup. It's very accessible.
It's all right. We were on drive-through
I loved it.
window.
It was,
it's okay.
It was very, very good. No, but yours felt very...
Don't worry about us.
Yours felt very exciting. When I walked to the table, I was like, there's many cool things happening here, and I'm excited to see it. And my other favorite...
For that. We had a 3-foot space, so
hey,
it's okay. You don't have to...
You did great. You did amazing.
Hard. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we were really fighting with it. I mean, we got in, so I can't complain. Barb, she offered some space to us, so I can't complain.
You did amazing.
So Barb, you probably saw all Barb's stuff, which she does amazing. I love her. She's another mentor of mine. She does all the Scott shows with me, and we've been next to each other or near each other. So she's a big mentor as well. So you probably saw a lot of her really nice stuff.
I love it.
I had some nice stuff.
Barb's the best. Barb is the best.
Yeah.
I need to meet Barb. I don't know Barb.
Barbara Gilbert. Yeah, she's with Creepy Exotics. She's been also around for a very long time. Probably as long as you, Wally.
I don't know how that works, though, because she's like 29 and she's been in the hobby for 30 years. I don't know. Hold on. Let me get my calculator.
She's a vampire.
Yeah, I can't get that to work.
That's hilarious.
I love Barb. She's amazing.
She's amazing. She is amazing.
Yes.
I also loved Northern Gecko, and that's where I got my cappuccino male, who I'm just obsessed with him. He's got some doll spots on him, but when I look at his eyes, I'm just like, you're so great. You're just so cute. So anywho, that's totally right. Like, walk around the shows and respond to what make you feel. Like, I don't give a darn. Sorry, I keep forgetting we're family friendly. I don't give a darn. I'll flame this show. I went to the Ultimate Reptile show. One of them, I was not pleased. There were some geckos there that should not be being sold. Like, they're so tiny. I'm like, goodness gracious, I hope somebody doesn't throw them in an 18 by 18 by 24 and hope for the best. But anywho, I don't like to be negative. In all seriousness, though, like, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and then innovating on those ideas is huge. Like, I remember doing the bird shows, you know, I was the only vendor there who had a cover, who had a nice banner behind them, and I had lights on my table, too, that I could change colors. And I was selling bird perches, and I would sell out. I would sell every single perch that I brought. So when I start breeding crested geckos, y'all better count your days. Just kidding. In all seriousness, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. No, it'll be fun. What shows?
Yeah.
Well, do you go? Are there shows? Not to sound like an idiot, but are there shows in Wisconsin?
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, yes.
Oh yeah, there's tons. There's Janesville. There's Fame
Janesville,
Fest.
Madison, Green Bay.
Goodness
you think
gracious!
Wisconsin, it's like, what's going on in Wisconsin? It's the
Yeah,
frozen
you wouldn't think
tundra
so.
of Lambeau Field. It's hard, but you know, when I think of Wisconsin, I think it's a mecca of
It is. Oh God.
good keepers.
Yeah.
Kyle and Crystal, oh my gosh, I couldn't recommend somebody more than those two. I think it's a mecca of good keepers because, you know, I go back to, you know, the Repashy forums and some of the people in Wisconsin that were key people there. And it's actually, you know, Wisconsin, but it's also the northern Illinois as well.
Mhm.
Some great keepers. But we have some great shows here, Sewerfest.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I've been doing Sewerfest for forever.
I've been trying to get in.
Yeah, you've got to get in. It's a great show.
I hope so. Yeah.
We have the Show Me down in Janesville. We also have Scaled Up Expos, which Dylan and Brittany are the best. You know, Shane, you're the second. You're close to Shane. You're a close second with Sewerfest. But Brittany and David, Brittany and Dylan are just super people, and their shows have just escalated. So we're very fortunate in Wisconsin.
It'll be tough for out-of-state people coming up soon, or out-of-state vendors.
I feel so stupid that I even asked that. I know there's so many cool things happening in Wisconsin. Oh well,
you're good.
You know, us Chicagoans think that it's Chicago and then like Kentucky,
it's
everywhere
Chicago.
else.
Chicago's the hub. You always think of that.
I was talking with the other moderator in our group, the Worldwide Crested Gecko Enthusiast group, that will probably hit 800 people this week, which I'm very excited about. I was talking with Cameron, and they asked me, they were like, "What state are you in?" And I responded, "Chicago." I'm like, "That's not really a state." Ooh, we have a great question here from Frank. Any LUAC combos in our future? Frank, if you want to donate $5,000, then yes, I will definitely have. There'll be one from Korea to my door tomorrow. Yes. So let's talk about that a little bit. And we're at about 45, so I think this would be a great place to kind of drive us and then end on this note. So LUAC is a form of sable. I know what it is. Why can't I not think of it? Carolyn, help me.
Sable.
Is it a super sable?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be reading that then, because those are dying. No, super caps are dying.
Super caps is cap is cap.
Is bad.
It's super cap. Sable, luwak. You can also get a luwak lily, and you can also get super luwak? Question mark. It's my head's fuzzy.
Right?
So, yeah.
What do you guys think of these?
It gets a little fuzzy when you start going up the tree. But yeah, sable, luwak. And you can also get lily luwak. I know someone that's in the States right now that's, has lily luwak.
Ooh,
one of the first ones was actually produced. So it's really, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not in the near future, but I would hate to say that it is because it's a lot. So I'll wait till the market goes down a little bit, just like how the sable is. So wait a year.
I saw
on
on Jump Time's list that he posted a sable lily white, a juvenile, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to have this. It's so cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was humbled when I saw the list, and I'm like, oh, I don't have 11 grand, but if I did, I would not be buying a gecko.
Right.
But Wally, what's
I know it's every day you're like, I just need to sell my collection and buy this. I'm like, no, don't do that.
I know. It's so sad. I was taking pictures of all of them, too, to sell them. And I was like, but I love you. So they'll stay here.
For one, go down to 15 to 1.
No, I'm keeping the crew. But, what is your guys' vantage point on the new, okay, so from my vantage point, and Wally, I'd love to hear your opinion here, too, and Carol and you as well. We'll go around the little circle we have. The new morphs. So you've been around for, 20, 25 years. So you've kind of seen, you know, lily white become a thing, and now like sables are a thing. What is your take on these new morphs and traits that we're seeing?
And I've made this super public to a lot of people. I
Make
say
it
it on my
public here.
show quite a few times. I'll go back to a statement that I made, you know, earlier in the show. You have to do what drives your passion. You have to do what you can do yourself and not overextend. For me, you know, going back 5-6 years ago, seeing some of these come out, I knew that it wasn't the direction that Supreme Gecko was meant to go in. So I've stayed current with the hobby, with what's going on. I've talked to Brian and Flawless and some other people about some of these things, but it's just not in our cards here at Supreme Gecko. It's not what we do. It's not what we focus on. I was in the whole leopard gecko situation where it was just expanding. I saw, and I'm not trying to relate this to what's happening in crested geckos, but I saw the enigmas and the lemon frost and the white and yellow, and I saw the way up and the way down and the way up and the way down, and the miscommunication and the confusion and the concern. And I saw the leopard gecko hobby go from, oh, that's fun, you got some more orange, to, oh, look at those stripes, look at those bold stripes, oh my gosh, to money being thrown, you know, $20,000 at some of these animals, to only see, unfortunately, some really, you know, horrific tragedies with some of these lines. So I'm so jilted with you know, where I'm coming from, and I hope nobody else is like this. But we're kind of trying to stay with what we can focus on here at Supreme Gecko, and that's rare geckos, and it's, you know, things like cave geckos and cat geckos and some of the Australians, the knobtails, and the Africans. And crested gecko still drives a big part of our business, and we still, you know, try to focus on making the best reds and the best, you know, red Harleys and things that we possibly can. Now is not the time for Supreme Gecko to jump into something like that. Maybe and I said this in that video that I mentioned before about the market crashing with this crested geckos, and it's all not, I'm not trying to say doom and gloom, but
good.
There might be a time where we jump in and we get some, you know, lily whites and mix with some of our red line. It's just, for us right now, the timing's not right.
That's a beautiful way to put it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I have a point with my next statement. I love the show RuPaul's Drag Race. It's my favorite show on television. And something that RuPaul said, like, really changed my life: know who you are and deliver it at all times. And that is, like, exactly what you're saying with Supreme Gecko. You guys know who you are. You have that amazing red line, which we need to talk about because I'd love to have one. And, like, you guys know what you're doing, and you're delivering it. And what you have delivered is a consistent product over, you know, a long period of time, you know, which is amazing. And I'm so grateful that you've been here to share your insights with us tonight. And hopefully it's not the last time, and you've had a good time hanging out with slumming it with Carolyn and I. Sorry for the sniffles, everybody. I'm very not good. So I'm just gonna sniff my way to success. That's, never mind.
Yeah, just
great.
comment on
Did
that
you say
too.
sniff your
Carolyn,
way
jump
to
in.
success? Is that what you said?
Sniff.
Your way?
Sniffle.
Sniff. Oh.
Yeah, that's an expensive hobby. Anyway, Carolyn, what's your take on the new hotness of, like, sables, luwaks, caps, and then we'll wrap up there.
So we've got a very similar opinion to Wally as well. You know, I've said this time and time over again. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about the hobby. You know, it's about the progression. That's exactly what we're going for. It's not about the money. And it drives me bonkers, like no tomorrow, when I see breeders just doing it for the money. I understand, but we need to look at the progression. You know, you have backyard breeders that focus on the money, same like how dogs and everything is. We don't want that. We want to look at good quality geckos on one page, but, you know, us as a hobby in another page. Okay, what shows are we going to do, but also what animals are we producing, and can we handle it? We're, you know, maintaining that happy medium of being able to maintain everybody's happy and well. You know, there is a small pocket of change, but I mean, there's not many breeders that do make a huge chunk of change.
Mhm.
You know, some months it's amazing, some months it's awful. It's not about the money, so you have to mentally think, okay, I have to have a job to support this as the, you know, as the main hobby in the household. Because, you know, it's floor to ceiling in majority of the rooms. Wally, I know you can relate.
I can relate.
Yes. So when it comes for us to do, you know, dipping our toes in the water, I know I said this earlier, dipping our toes in the water when it comes to exotic morphs. You know, of course, we've got the lilies, but they aren't becoming as exotic as they once were.
Right.
You know, we're dipping our toes into the Xantics, we're dipping our toes into the Sables, but we don't plan on being a mass producer to focus on the money. That is not what we do. We're not importing dozens of geckos in from, you know, Korea to rebound and sell it. That's not what we're about. You know, we're about being ethical. That is what we're about. And that's our biggest thing is don't do it half-assed. I'm sorry, but do it 100%.
I think it could be PG-13. I think it's fine.
Sorry.
I love it.
Yeah, and so that's the biggest thing is just to not, you know, don't focus on the wallet. If you get something in your wallet, great, move on, you know. But focus on being ethical, focus on, you know, making friends in the community. That's another big, you know, reason why I got in is there's so many amazing people in the community. And I've made more friends than I ever have in this community than I actually have in real life. So it's so amazing. Everyone's so kind. I mean, yeah, you get, you know, the drama that you get front row seats to every once in a while in the community, but that's what every community does. You know, buckle up, Buttercup. It happens every year.
I love it.
And it always will.
Yeah.
It always will.
If this were
always something.
horses or dogs or cats or tropical fish, or it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Airplanes.
To back up something that I said earlier about where we are, I have on the other hand, I have the deepest admiration for some of the things that a person like Brian Butler of Altitude Exotics, deepest admiration and respect for what he's doing, because he's bleeding edge. And the one thing coming out of the computer world is I learned real quick, never, ever, ever be bleeding edge, be leading edge. Hats off to somebody that can be bleeding edge and take the hits when they happen. I've been so risk adverse, huge risk adverse. So I'll dip my toes, but I'm not going to take a yard running start and jump into the lake like that.
Totally.
Yes.
And that's Brian.
100%.
And again, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Big kudos to all the people that are, you know, figuring these things out. You know, because 2 years ago, supers were coming out for cappuccinos, and now it's like frowned upon. So it's just, you know, to be at a point where you can step back, watch it develop first, and then make your decision to invest. Because if you invest and turns out that it's totally wrong, then your 11,000 gecko now is only worth $50. So you have to just be patient. I mean, it hurts a lot of people because they look at the price tag. Everyone always looks at the price tag and they want to make that price tag. So it's really tough, you know, to be ethical. Just the people that are doing the cutting edge things and figuring out the genetics and, you know, producing these, you know, wild things, you have to think, okay, am I in a situation to be that? If I'm not, don't do it. You know, it's, if you have $1 million inheritance, do what you will with it, but make good decisions.
Yeah.
I can do some of those things, but I can't sleep at night. I can't sleep at night because I stress out so much over things like that. The very first time, like you said, Carolyn, or a little bit earlier, the very first time that you would ever do anything for the money's sake of things, oh my gosh, will be the downfall.
It'll be the end of it.
Hobby. You know, it absolutely should first be, God, I really love the colors, or I really want to work with this animal so I can produce them and distribute them to other people because this is such a cool animal. When you can do things like that, the money's going to come. It really will.
Sure. Totally. And no one can see the future. I mean, so many people, I think, are buying into the sables and the cappuccinos right now, and then we're gonna start producing in a couple years. Like, that's what I have. I have my sable that I got from. I didn't get it from Korea, but anyway, like, I'm waiting for her to be breeding age. Amazing. Well, this hour went by so fast. Wally, thank you so much for joining us. Please don't let this be the last time. Carolyn and Dustin, always good to see you. I think on that note, let's all go clean out some gecko enclosures and have a great Friday. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Frank, for all of your beautiful commentary. It's so much fun. It was so good to have you in the chat tonight. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next Friday at 7:30 Central.